Improving your Amazon product's click-through rate is one of the fastest ways to boost your sales performance. In this video, you will learn how to optimize your main product images using DataDive's workflow, which includes analyzing competitor images, creating and testing new variations, as well as validating them through market research. If you want to try DataDive for yourself, you'll find a special offer below in the description.
Hello, Anthony. Welcome back to Orange Klik YouTube channel to share your knowledge with us. And today we're going to focus on the click-through rate optimization, as it's actually one of the most important elements that influences the success of an Amazon product. So it's a very important topic for all sellers out there. Before we go into the details, could you first introduce yourself and also give us a brief overview of what DataDive is and how Amazon sellers are finding your software helpful?
You bet. It's good to be back. My name is Anthony Francesco. I'm been with DataDive and Seller Systems for almost 3 years now. I've been in the Amazon industry since 2017. I am a seller originally. I worked for Amazon. I used to own a creative agency. I worked for PickFu, and DataDive really helps sellers do everything they need to do for their Amazon business, but a lot faster. So that's mainly optimization for SEO, CTR, CVR, and revenue, PPC. And so I think today we're going to be covering a little bit of the CTR workflow for click-through rate.
All right. And you mentioned the word workflow. So how exactly, if you give us a brief overview, like how exactly you're going to educate us today about click-through rate and how you're going to share the insights with us, because workflows is something I know DataDive has been working on.
Yeah, so workflows are really just the intended use of the tool. There's a lot of different components of the DataDive software. And so the workflows are kind of step-by-step PDF guides that explain how to accomplish a specific task. So the workflow we're going to cover today is our click-through rate workflow, which is really about optimizing your main image to improve your CTR.
All right, sounds cool. So we are able to go through everything step by step that we need to know about optimizing the click-through rate. So the stage is yours. So go ahead, share your screen with us, and let's dive right into it.
All right, sounds good. Well, look, the thing I'm excited about for this workflow is CTR is the workflow that probably takes the least amount of time and effort, but will likely give you the largest results. It's something that's a process. You're not going to always get it right on your first try, but if you just commit to saying, this is something that I want to improve, this is something that I want to work on, there's a good chance you're going to see a positive ROI. And so I'm going to do a little bit of screen sharing today. I'm going to share this CTR workflow. I'm going to show you where to find the workflow inside of DataDive. But basically, if you've seen me on Orange Klik before, you've seen I've shown this equation. And this is the equation for how Amazon's ranking algorithm works. And really, there's 4 components to it. You have your relevancy, you have your CTR, your CVR, and your revenue. Relevancy is like your SEO. It's what does Amazon think your product is? What keywords does it believe are relevant? And this is a big function of what's written into your listing, what you have on the catalog in the back end. Once you're indexed for a keyword, what's going to push your organic rank up, how you achieve that #1 spot, is going to be the things on the right side of this equation, your performance. So if you want to simplify it, you really have your relevancy, which is your SEO times performance. And performance is made up of your CTR, your CVR, and your revenue. So if you're looking at your organic ranks for the product that you're selling, and you see that you're indexed for a majority of the keywords, but your organic ranks are lower than you'd like them to be, and you already have these keywords written into your listing, there's nothing else you can do. You can't rewrite these keywords in again, hoping to get a better organic rank. The only thing you can really do is try to optimize for performance. You have to tell Amazon that we deserve to be in a higher organic ranking position because we're giving more clicks. We have a higher conversion rate than our competitors, or we're driving more sales velocity, more revenue, typically going to be through PPC. And so if you think of this performance side of the equation, each of these things, CTR, CVR, and revenue being a lever that you can pull, most people, at least that I see, are not really pulling the lever or not pulling the lever hard enough for CTR. I was teaching a masterclass at a event here in New York at AMZ Innovate about a month ago, and there were 15 sellers that were all doing $10 million a year plus in annual revenue. And I went around the table and I said, who here in the last year has tested an alternate version of their main image? And it was less than half of the group said that they had done any tests whatsoever trying an alternate main image to what they had. So these are big sellers, successful sellers, and very few of them were pulling the lever to try to improve their click-through rate, their CTR. And so the workflow that I'm going to show you today is really a very straightforward methodology that you can use to improve your CTR and test what main image is going to be the best. So like we said earlier, we have a bunch of different workflows for Data Dive. We're going to be focusing on the CTR workflow today. I think we've already covered SEO, CVR, and PPC in other videos. And so the workflow is pretty straightforward. I'll show you how to access it in just a minute. But essentially what you're going to do is you're going to go into Deep Dive, which is where all of the images are shown for the entire niche inside a Data Dive. You can look at the AI product brief. And basically what you're going to do is once you look and see what are the different types of main images that are there, you're going to concept new main images that you can try and you can test. And then you're going to validate those concepts using market research. It's going to be something like PickFu, Product Pinion, or IntelliV. And then once you find out what the winning main image was from market research, once you validated that main image, you're just going to upload it into Amazon. Ideally, you're going to use Manager Experiments. This is the A/B testing tool that's totally free inside of Seller Central. And then you're going to make a highlight inside of Rank Radar. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump over to where you can find these workflows. I'm sure there's going to be a link down in the description of this video, but if you're watching and you want to follow along, you just go to datadive.tools/workflows, and then you come down here to the workflow for CTR. And when you click it, it's going to pull up this really nice PDF guide that's going to walk you through the entire process. Now, I just want to emphasize again, there's a lot of people, they're kind of nervous. Should I actually spend time doing this? And I put it right here in the beginning of the workflow that this is the fastest and most cost-effective way to improve your brand's performance. PPC is going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of effort. There's like a lot of manual going in. It takes a lot of knowledge. It's a lot of effort to see gains in terms of PPC. Conversion, which we've covered in another video, it's like you got to create a whole new set of images. You got to take photos. You got to work with designers. And you can see really large gains from CVR, but it's very time and money intensive. CTR is very simple. It's very finite. And this is a workflow that you can knock out the entire thing in just a matter of hours. So once you're inside of the workflow, you can click and navigate to any of these sections. I'm just going to kind of skip through some of this because it's pretty straightforward. So step one here is you're going to analyze the main images in Deep Dive. So in order to do that, you're just going to navigate on the left-hand side of your tool to Deep Dive. And if you click on the two arrows that point in at each other, it'll collapse the galleries and make it so you can see everything all in one spot. And then once you're inside of Deep Dive, you're going to see all of your competitor images. What you want to focus on is everything that's in that first column. Those are the main images. And we've created this guide here. We call it our main image matrix to really show all of the different potential main images that you can have. And so the most simple is going to be just the product on a white background. This is what most sellers are doing. But as you go across the rows and as you go down the columns, you're going to see there's a lot of alternate configurations for a main image that you can have, such as the product with the parts or the inclusions, the product plus packaging. Some people are going to put a lifestyle image as their main image. And you can see that there's a lot of different configurations along this main image matrix. What you're going to want to do is when you're inside of Deep Dive, and I think it shows it here, Oh, I guess it doesn't. So once you're inside of Deep Dive, you're just going to download a copy of this sheet. You can just click on this link here, and it's just going to, it's nothing complicated. You could do this yourself, but you're basically going to look at all of the competitors and you're going to categorize the main image by type. And so in this niche that we're looking at here, pretty much everyone was doing the product plus parts, which is the inclusions. And some people had the largest product in the top left. Other people had it in the top right. But essentially, we're just looking at this main image matrix and we're seeing, okay, what category or what classification would I assign to each of the main images? And then I'm going to click on this sheet, make a copy of the sheet, and then I'm going to categorize the main images by type, right? Pretty straightforward here. Once I've done that, then I can get a pretty clear idea of like, all right, well, if my product is just, or my main image rather, is just the product on a white background, I can obviously start, what if I would start showing the inclusions of my product? What happens if I would try to add a model into the product? And I can see what's currently being done inside of the niche. After that, here, I'm going to go down to this next part here. Once you've categorized all of the main images by type, it can sometimes be helpful to run the AI product brief. And this is going to show you, what do customers like about the product? What do they dislike? Ways to improve the product, and your customer avatars. Now, the AI product brief, this is a feature inside of Data Dive that's going to read all of the reviews for you. This has more of an application to your secondary images and A+ content, but sometimes you'll find information here that'll give you some additional ideas for what to put inside of your main image. And so in this example, we're looking at a cat tree and we're looking at customer avatars. You can see that the first customer avatar it's giving us is this cat lover, Lisa. And you can see that the first thing it says is that Lisa is a cat lover who has multiple kittens at home. And so if you actually look at the deep dive for this niche, what are you going to find in almost every single main image? It's not just the product on a white background. It's the product plus models. They're not human models, but they're cat models, right? So we have like our product plus models, and it's just showing a bunch of different cats on the cat tree. And so that's, a lot of, I think you can get the insights on what should go into your main image just with thinking critically. Again, the AI product brief is going to be more for your secondary images, but if you're going through the whole optimization campaign or this whole process, you might as well run it just for the product, and then you can use it for main images and then use the concepts as well for your secondary and A+. So once you've categorized all of the images by type, then what you want to do is create concepts for main image variations. And so again, you're going to work inside of the sheet. You can just click on this link and make a copy of the sheet so you can customize it. And you're just going to use the concepts from the main image matrix and then give a little bit of a more detailed description. So you can see what we've done here is we have like just two simple versions. I'll make this a little bit larger so everyone can see. The simplest version, we're just saying the product on a white background. We're trying some with the model plus the product. We're trying some with the model plus the product plus packaging. And we're just giving a little bit more of a description here. So like the model and the product in the center. We're doing a V2, a different version of that model in the bottom left, the product in the top right. And then there's a column for the status, whether it's just been concepted or it's actually been created by either your internal team or an agency. And so this is the part here where you're making the concept and then you're just writing a short description. The easy part about optimizing main images is the descriptions don't need to be super complex, right? You just got to put it in simple words. Most designers are going to be able to take this plus the main image matrix that's on the page 5 of this document, and they're going to be able to figure out the rest. An additional tip here, this is a really cool tool that I've used quite a bit. This is kind of bonus, right? So typically the process would stop here. Like you would create the concept, you'd create the description, and then you'd hand it off to an internal team or an agency and say, okay, go and make this. But a cool tool that a company called Product Pinion just released is called Variationizer. And this is sometimes good enough to create main images that you could upload to Amazon. but it's really good for taking the concepts from just a description and bringing them to life. And so, how Variationizer works is you upload a photo of your product, and then it'll use AI to create some of those either models or props or those decals that you see, like a tag, different things like that that you can add to the product. And so you have to kind of think about this. I need to actually add in the final image that they had because it's actually pretty impressive. But this was for a coffee bag. It was just like a bag of coffee beans. And then you would put the coffee bag in the center here, and then it's using AI to make this like ring of beans to make the coffee cup, and it works. It's pretty cool. Like you could probably upload this to Amazon, but at least for giving your designers with literally a few minutes of work a more clear idea of what you want the variation to look like, it works pretty well. And I'm just going to go back up for a minute and show we recently added on a category here for decal, which is like a tag or eye candy that is used to highlight your product. So in this case, like the beans, how they're spread around the product like that are kind of just like a bonus item. The coffee cup with the coffee inside of it, it's just like eye candy, a decal, something that you add onto your main image to kind of catch eyes. So once you have concepted your images and then you hand them off to your creative team, you have to actually go and get them created, right? And so what's going to happen is you're going to look on this main image matrix and you're going to say, what do we think is the best option for our main image out of something that's on that main image matrix? So maybe it's like you're testing alternates instead of just having the product on a white background. You're trying the product plus a model. You're trying the product plus parts, the inclusions. You're trying a product plus a lifestyle image of the product. What's going to happen is your team is going to make like 3 to 5 different versions of your main image. And so what you're going to want to do before moving on to uploading the image to Amazon is you're going to want to validate the concepts using market research. And there's a few different options for this. You can use PickFu, you can use IntelliView, you can use Product Pinion. I just want to see you actually go and use market research. For those of you who have known me for a while, you know I used to work with PickFu. PickFu is an awesome option. I think everyone knows about them. The point is that when you get to manage your experiments, it's going to take, and I have an example of a test we did on one of Brandon's products. It took 4 weeks to get results. And so the benefit of validating your main image concepts before going into Amazon is that you're going to get an answer or some feedback before spending all of that time. And so what you're going to want to do first is take 3 to 5 of what you feel are your best main images, and you're going to test them against each other. This is what most people would call a baseline test. You're just testing against your own internal options. Once you have a winner from one of those 3 to 5 images, then you're going to take that winner and test it against the top 3 competitors. What you're going to hope to see is that your new main image beats out the current competition. And the cool thing about running the market research and validating in advance is, let's say that you get feedback and your image isn't the best option. Well, then you're not just going based off of a score, this one won, this one lost. You're able to actually read the detailed feedback from each of those respondents and see, well, what can I learn from the feedback and how could we improve our main image even more? So that's where it comes into step 3, which is like analyze the results and then potentially go through a few iterations before actually uploading to Amazon. Then once you have from the competitive tests, testing against the competitors, once you have your winning main image, then the only thing that you really have to do is go into Amazon Manager Experiments and test your new, hopefully winning main image against your current. So this is pretty easy to do. If you're brand registered, you just go into Seller Central, go into Brands, click on Manage Experiments, and then you're going to create a new experiment for main image. Now, there's a few things that you need to fill out here. There's a hypothesis, and then a test name. What's important about the hypothesis is these manager experiments tests are actually approved by human beings. And so for those of you out there who are thinking, well, doesn't Amazon TOS say we have to only have our product on a white background? And if I try anything else, then I'm actually breaking TOS? Well, it's not exactly true. The TOS is quite vague, and they really say that it just has to be a photorealistic image of the product, and you can't have elements in the image that are confusing or distracting. In some categories, you'll see they allow a whole lot of different things to be placed in the main image. My advice for you, and I gave this at Prosper Show years ago, and I know many people have tried this, is if you're nervous about pushing the boundaries on TOS, run a manage your experiment test. And instead of saying, hey, we want to add a bunch of cat models onto the tree because it's going to be more engaging and we're going to get more clicks and we're going to make more sales and beat our competitors, try making your hypothesis something that is more Amazon centric or customer centric. So you're going to say, hey, we're testing an alternate version of our main image. We know that our largest customer avatar is a cat lover who has multiple cats, and we want to show that our cat tree is sturdy and can actually accommodate multiple cats at the same time. This is going to indicate and have a better buying experience for the shopper and let them know that this is a sturdy product, right? And so if you are framing it in a way that's customer centric, it's much more likely that your MYE is going to get approved. I've seen this done with glow in the dark products for people testing a black background. I've seen this with home decor items where people are testing a lifestyle image and they're saying, we want to show a lifestyle image to show how this bedspread fits in with the decor of a room. That way, if this gets approved through Manage Your Experiments, you're kind of getting Amazon's blessing on this, and your probability of having that image suppressed is much, much lower. So that's just a helpful little hack there. So once you create your hypothesis and set up your test, you can do the minimum of 4 weeks. It goes all the way up to 10 weeks. I recommend keeping it to 4 weeks. Then what you're going to want to do is let that test run. The thing about running these main image tests is it's a lot of work up front, and then you just kind of got to let it do its thing. And then what I like to do as well is you're going to have alternates. You're going to have the main image that won, but then you're going to have all of these like 3 to 5 other images that haven't been used yet. And so for this, I recommend creating a monthly testing roadmap. So let's say you run this first manager experiment test and maybe you win, maybe you lose, but you have all of these other images that you could also test. And so for this, you would say like, okay, well, we're going to test the first version here in September, and then maybe this one wins. And then in October, we're going to test an alternate version of that. In November, we're going to test like an alternate version of that, or go back to one of our other images that we have. And I think a little bit of this, yeah, let's see if I missed anything from here. So we have the image categorization, we have the concepting. This is how they performed in market research. And then, yeah, just some stuff down here at the bottom for like metrics reporting. And you can say like, before and after the change, how did they perform? You can put your manager experiments results in here as well. I guess it's just more than anything being forward thinking of like, what do you do with all these other images? And don't just stop if you win on the first result. I would try to make continuous improvements over the next few months and really always have manager experiment tests being run. The other last thing that you can do, and you can do this as soon as you start your manager experiment test, is make a highlight inside of Rank Radar. So if you go into Data Dive on the left-hand side, you click on Rank Radar. Most people know that you can leave a highlight for a specific keyword. So let's say that you added a keyword into your title as an exact match, or you expanded the PPC campaign types for a keyword. You can make a highlight for that specific keyword, but you can also make a highlight for a specific date. And this is something that would apply to the entire listing. And so if you click above the date, you could add on something here like on September 17th, we uploaded a new main image to manage your experiments. And the version that we did was product plus lifestyle, and it was our second variation. Just so that you know, on that day you took that specific action. You might not see a 1-for-1 correlation in an improvement in organic rank when you're doing MYE, because remember, Amazon is still showing 50% of the audience is going to see version A, 50% of the audience is version B. So you probably won't see like any crazy improvements in organic rank, but it's still helpful just to keep track of what you've been doing. And then this is kind of the future steps. The next steps is you're going to monitor performance, and ideally you're going to execute monthly MYE tests. So this is kind of on a 2-week interval. I'm going to show you an example of a test that took all 4 weeks to get conclusive results. Depending on the quality of the main image, if it's a big improvement over your current, you might get conclusive results as early as 1 week, showing that one version is much better than the other. If it's more similar, you might have to wait a little bit longer before you have a conclusive result. And so for these, it's like every 2 weeks, I'm saying, okay, on 10.8, we have V1, which is live. And then like 2 weeks later, I'm going to go to V2, V3, V4, V5, V6. Realistically, I think a more acceptable time frame is probably once every 4 weeks, which is what's showing here. And again, setting up these MYE tests is literally going to take you a few minutes. You already have your image assets created. My recommendation is to always be running at least one manager experiment test on the listing. Doesn't necessarily need to be main image, but it can be like secondary images, A+ content. There's a lot of different MYE tests that you can run. We also have, like, in this case, we put together an implementation timeline. In one of the other videos, I went through a case study we did with Share It Studio. In that example, we weren't just testing main image. We were also testing secondary images, A+ content. But just so you can get an idea of what an implementation timeline looks like, you can see, like, in the back half of October, or here we are, we're testing the V3 of the main image. And then we're moving on to do MYE tests for A+ content and secondary images, alternating every 2 weeks. And then we're always running like PPC sponsored brands. Just some other, I like putting this in here as well. The goal is to improve CTR. Main image is going to be a big lever that you can pull on improving CTR. But there's also other factors that impact CTR that aren't covered in this workflow. So some alternate CTR optimization strategies. A big one is price. And so a tool that I really like, it's a little bit more involved, but around testing price is a tool called Prophecy, which is really cool. You can not only just test and see what price is going to make you more profit, but they also have a setting inside of Prophecy that allows you to optimize for sales velocity, which is kind of cool. You can also try to get more reviews. We have like Amazon Vine on here, and then the request a review button. And then like reviews is also going to be a big part of, in your rating is going to be a big part of CTR. And so I added Trace Views on here. This is a service that'll help you remove negative reviews that don't comply with Amazon TOS. Again, these are just additional options here, but the biggest is going to be for sure optimizing for main image. So I was on a call the other day. I'm flying out in next week to Minnesota, and there's a seller system student that has 10,000 ASINs, and I'm like sitting down with their whole team. And I asked them, I was like, hey, are you guys running any manager experiments tests? And what they said is they're like, nah, we don't mess around with that. We just do pick foo because the manager experiments tests take 4 weeks to run. And this is something that I'm going to be working with the team a little bit on. Like, I have to tell them, you just got to sit around and wait. I love PickFu. I love Product Pinion. I love IntelliV. But my friend Adam Runquist in the industry, he has a really good video showing results from PickFu testing against manager experiments, and the results are the exact opposite. So it is very helpful to run market research in advance, but it does not give you the complete picture, and it is not a guarantee that that main image is actually going to perform on Amazon. The only way to really know is to actually sit down and run the MYE test. So I can't encourage everyone enough. Just spend the time. You got to be patient. You got to let these tests run, but like go through the process of improving your CTR. The other thing to keep in mind is because CTR is typically going to be low, like a single percentage number, an improvement going from like a 2% CTR to a 3% CTR isn't just going up by 1%. That's an absolute increase of 66%. And so this is going to help you tremendously. The other thing too is don't try and tell yourself that you need to get this right on the first try. In fact, you might run a manager experiment test and you might actually have a losing variation that you run. A lot of people at that point will say, you know what, this is not worth it. I'm not doing this. And they're just going to stop doing any kind of main image testing. If you think about this in the long term, if you want to get a 1% increase on your click-through rate, it doesn't matter if in month 1 you actually have a worse performing variation. As long as you end up being right in the end, then you can improve the CTR. So if you want to see a 1% increase over 6 months, all that comes down to is increasing your CTR by 0.16% per month. So again, it's okay if you're up and down a little bit, as long as you're up in the overall, then you're in a good spot. For this brand that I was talking about with 10,000 different ASINs, it's actually more like 2,500 ASINs, but they sell on different marketplaces, so 10,000 like products live. Anyway, this brand does $20 million a year. A 1% increase in CTR on a $20 million brand is going to go from 20 million to 30 million. Again, that's that absolute increase of 66%. So it's going to be a lot of work and a lot of effort. I don't expect them to try new main images for all 2,500 products in their catalog, but can they start to apply this across the portfolio and ramp up this workflow and see some improvements? There's no doubt that it's possible. The other thing to keep in mind here is like this brand that we're talking about in the case study that I'm about to show you, the product line, it's the same type of products over and over again. The brand has very similar products across the entire product line. So when you run one main image test and you figure out what wins, you're going to be able to apply these lessons across your entire portfolio. So you're not going to have to start from scratch, start from square one in the beginning. And this is a really good example of this. This is actually from one of Brandon's products. I'm a part owner of a company called Fade Visuals, and I said, hey, can you do some main image variations for one of Brandon's toy products? And Brandon is a great guy, but even his internal team is like, this is not something that they are super aggressive on testing. They're certainly not testing main image alternates through manager experiments. They're very much of the standpoint that like, this takes too long. This isn't worth it to do. So we put together a bunch of different main image variants. We ran them through, I believe it was Product Pinion, and we used IntelliV. We took the feedback, we created new variations, and these were the results of the tests. So you can see here that in week number 1, it was actually very similar. Version A is only slightly winning. And at this point, we almost stopped the test, the internal team, because we were getting into Prime Day. We almost stopped the test and we're like, okay, let's just go with version A. But I'm so glad we let it run for all 4 weeks, because you can see that in the end, there's actually a substantial increase of version A. Now, what is even more interesting about this is that this is a toy product. Everyone else in the niche was showing the product plus all of the inclusions. What we tried with this is we looked at the keyword research and we saw that our customer avatar was like a kid whose age was like between ages like, I think it was like 5 to 7. And so we got a really good looking AI kid model that's like holding the tool, and we tested this and it won. And the overall results here, like in the end, it's telling us that the most likely scenarios that this brand is going to sell over a year, 238 units, and make like an extra $6,000, which doesn't really seem like that much. In the best case scenario, it's maybe like $18,000 for the year. But what's more important about this is like, this is just step one. Now, can we go and create an alternate version of that and have a new MYE that we're doing for this product every month and increase this a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more? On top of that, can we start to roll this out for the rest of the portfolio and say, okay, the product plus model worked really well in this scenario. Would this also work well where there's a question about what age range is this toy appropriate for? And so this is just like a, if you want to, I know Fade Visuals, we covered Fade Visuals when we did some rendering talk here on the Orange Click channel. They have like a whole service. If this is something that you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this, you can just like pay money to Fade Visuals or any agency. I guess my point is like in the business, you have two inputs. You have time and you have money. So either your internal team is going to go and take the photos, put this together, run these, have tests that you're planned out for like 6 months to a year, or you say, you know what, I'm going to pay someone to do this and you're just going to get it done. So I think that's where I'll wrap up today. I feel like this is all pretty straightforward. I hope I didn't like go on for too long there. But that's what I've got for main images.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I think it's very clear workflow. All sellers can follow easily. So thanks a lot for putting together this guide and also showing some examples how sellers could actually work on it. So besides, just to kind of summarize once more, in the beginning of the video, you briefly mentioned that you have different workflows. So what were the other workflows which are also available?
Yep. So we have workflows now for product validation. We don't have the launch workflows up yet, but they'll be up soon. But we do have live all of the optimized workflows. So optimize SEO, optimize CTR, optimize CVR, and optimize revenue, which is PPC.
All right, very good. And to kind of briefly mention also, what would you say? So, for example, if someone is watching us right now and is not yet a data dive user, then which of the features or tools within data dive you would kind of highlight that you would say are likely like most important for Amazon sellers to work on their business more effectively and faster?
The big one is deep dive. I know for sure Data Dive is the only tool that allows you to see all of the competitor image galleries all in one spot. This is also helpful when you're doing your market research. Like instead of, I've done this before, you open up every single different listing, you right click on the image, you save it. You can just do all of that right inside of Data Dive. You can download all of the images as a bulk file. And so that helps. The AI product brief, again, is more for CVR optimization, but you can still get some good insights there for main image optimization. And then rank radar is the big one. Everything that we're doing, we ultimately want to see what's the improvement in our organic rank. And so as you are optimizing CTR, CVR, and revenue, you want to keep a pulse on, am I moving up to that number one organic position? Rank radar is going to allow you to track your organic daily ranks.
Okay, sounds good. And yeah, as I think you mentioned before, we're going to have the links down in the video description below as well. And if you have any question about optimizing your click-through rates or any questions after listening to Anthony explaining us the workflow, leave them as comments below the video so we could ask Anthony to come back to the video and also answer those. So thanks again for joining me, for sharing what you have put together for sellers to help them succeed. And I hope to see you soon on our Orange Klik YouTube channel.
Thanks so much, LISETT. See you later.
I hope this video will help you to optimize your product images for better click-through rates on Amazon. If you are interested in what Data Dive does, check their link in the video description below and use their special 20% discount when signing up with their service. Also, don't forget to hit like and subscribe buttons to see more content like this. And we publish content every week. And also leave a comment in the comment section below if you have additional questions. And now, I recommend you to watch more tutorials about different Data Dive features and tools that can help to improve your Amazon business sales, click-through rates, and everything else. So check this out.